Sober fam, what is going on? Lately, I have been doing a whole bunch of research on the topic of community, and I came across something that I really want to share with you guys. It's something that was quite interesting to find out because this is what we're all about. We're all about community. We're all about supporting one another. And oftentimes we think that addiction itself is a matter of sobriety, but I recently came across a psychologist's findings, a Dr. Bruce K. Alexander, who published tons and tons of books on this stuff. I mean, the guy's got a lot of works out there. He particularly touched on the subjects of global addiction. There's quite some amazing stuff that I came across in his articles, and something in particular really caught my eye. So there was an experiment that was conducted with rats and mice. And what they would do is they would take this rat or a mouse, put it inside of a cage. While it was inside this cage, it would be provided some water. And the water, basically, one of them was infused with some type of a drug. Either it was heroin or it was cocaine or some type of a, methamphetamine or a stimulant. And the other one was just a plain old water. As scientists were conducting this experiment, the mouse or the rat would constantly choose to feed off of the heroin or the methamphetamine-induced water. Well, nothing new here. It would actually feed so much on it that it would end up killing itself. Until Bruce came across this experiment and noticed that there was something seriously wrong with the experiment. They were putting the mouse or the rat in there alone. So it really had no other alternative for stimulation, such as finding pleasure in other things, like we would find pleasure in going outside or hanging out with a friend or socializing in any way, shape, or form with anybody. It would basically kill itself because of that. So Bruce made a crazy proposal. He said, you know what, I'm gonna build this mouse rat utopia kind of thing, and I'm gonna call it the Rat Heaven Park or the Rat Park, and I'm gonna put these mice and these rats in there, and then I'm gonna conduct the same experiment by providing them only 2 sources of water. But this time around, they're gonna have the ability to socialize, to blend in with a community of rats or mice, and there's gonna be many other things to kind of keep them preoccupied, stimulated or whatnot, apart from this drug or apart from this addiction, something that has an addictive property. So what he found out was quite amazing. He actually found out that none of the mice or the rats were drinking from the heroin or the methamphetamine laced water. Instead, they were completely steering clear from it. Now, you kind of might be wondering, all right, well, that's great. This is a mouse, this is a rat. How the heck does this apply to me? I'm a human being. We're incredibly complex. Right? It's more than just, give me a wheel and I'll be fine, right? Well, coincidentally, at the time that this was going on, we had the Vietnam War that happened. About 20% of the soldiers that participated in the war were consuming heroin and opiates. And people were just kind of freaking out at this. They were thinking to themselves, oh my God, these guys are just gonna be coming back home. They're gonna be druggies, they're gonna be addicts. What the heck are we gonna do? And it actually spurred the war on drugs. And what we found out though is that when these soldiers returned back from war, 95% of them assimilated just fine. And the reason being for that was the community, the family, friends, society, social life, and so on, whether it be work or, casual just conversation with somebody. But while they were over in Vietnam, they were in a territory that they were not familiar with, and they kind of felt trapped. And the trap was, or the cage for them, if you want to kind of compare it to these mice and rat situations, the cage for them was either kill or be killed, or consume heroin or opium and die slowly, which is kind of like a self-induced death that these mice and rats would go undertake, if you will. So, and it kind of struck me really weird, and I really wanted to share that with you guys. If you kind of think about what's going on and what the bigger picture is and what the bigger message is, we really have to kind of choose our communities wisely. What Dr. Alexander was proposing was community and connection is a viable cure for addiction. So it's something where you kind of have to ask yourself, hey, what's my cage? And am I choosing my friends wisely? Are my social spheres the most beneficial to me and to my sobriety? Are these bonds that I have with people genuine bonds, or are these superficial bonds in some way, shape, or form? I mean, it's really something that kind of strikes home. I mean, if you really think about it, a lot of the times, I remember back in the day when I was using, I would always think to myself, hey, you know what? This is something that would make the event that much more pleasurable. This is something that, let's go get high and then let's go to the movies. Let's go get high and then let's go out. Let's go get high and then let's socialize. And what is this experiment kind of showed us, that even though that these mice or rats had this ability to get high or stoned or drunk, what have you, they chose not to. Right? They chose not to, because it wasn't making the events any more pleasurable. It wasn't building upon the event in any way, shape, or form. It was literally just a poison. And if an animal can avoid a poison, something that has, the basic of intelligence, then we as human beings can definitely get a stronger grip on ourselves and have a little bit more self-control. These animals with these communities, I mean, their interaction is just so limited and their pleasure is so limited, and the amount of things that we can do as an individual, whether it's skydiving or as simple as going for a walk with a friend, I mean, really it's limitless. So the ways that we can form connections and the ways that we can form these bonds is much more extensive and much more expansive than these animals. So I think it's really important to learn from that. And as I was kind of reading his paper, I was kind of thinking of the war on drugs situation and how it's punishing people by putting them in jails. And if you really think about that, that person is for sure in a cage. I mean, you're taking someone that's an addict, right, that may not be some crazy criminal offender or anything like that, and you're institutionalizing them and placing them in a spot where they are guaranteed to get a crappy community, guaranteed to get influenced by the folks that are around them, and not in a positive way at that. I mean, yeah, sure, there might be a couple, 2 or 3 good people that could be close to that person's jail cell or something like that. But I mean, you're institutionalizing them into this machine and you're placing a cage around them. And we all know that drugs are extremely accessible in jail, if not more in jail than they are in the general public. They're caged for sure, and not just from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint as well. So I think that the bigger picture really is not about dealing with the problem by yourself and being alone in the situation. I think it's really important to gather support and be honest with people about what your position is, and on addiction and the struggles that you're having and so on. So I'm kind of really glad that I came across this gentleman's work. I'll definitely include a link to some of his articles. They're not necessarily the easiest of reads. I don't know if you guys have ever read psychological papers or anything like that, but it's a lot to chew on. So I'm just kind of hoping to make this video to kind of make it in a palpable format for you guys. The other 2 things that he touched up on was fragmentation and dislocation. Fragmentation is something that we're seeing in society today. An example of that would be that we're distancing ourselves and we're kind of individualizing ourselves. And one of the ways that we do that, that's the most common way that I can think of, is our cell phones. They were actually originally designed to bring us together, but a lot of the times we're choosing to avoid genuine interaction and we're choosing to avoid real life engagement. We're kind of hiding behind the safety of a digital screen. So one of the things that if I can encourage you guys to do anything is just say hi to your neighbors when you see them. It's something that's almost like a lost art. I know that when I come home, I mean, you could literally see like the garage closing and then like my neighbors basically waving hi as this, garage closes down. I was really fortunate enough to have a neighborhood when I was a little bit younger where people would walk out, socialize. We would have, Friday nights, everybody would get together, there'd be a barbecue and so on. So it's really about that social element where we don't want to stay as fragmented as we are. If there's any other ideas on fragmentation that you guys want to share with each other or with Sober Movement, obviously, just drop a comment. Dislocation is something that occurs through fragmentation. So dislocation is something like the prison system. It's something where socioeconomic status comes in. This stuff happens with our private institutions. It happens with education. It happens with jobs. It really just causes this type of a divide. And I think that's something that Dr. Alexander was saying that the entire society basically needs to change for the better, and we have to look out for one another as if we were family. So really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'm looking forward to creating new content for you guys in the near future. Sorry for the week delay. It's been a crazy week, but this was actually something that was really, really worth sharing. There's a couple of other ideas and topics that I have that are up in my brain, but I really felt compelled to share this one with you. So drop a comment below, let me know what your guys' cage is, and let me know, how we can support one another, and hopefully everybody chimes in on the comments and shares their experiences. Sober Movement, your place for a sobriety fix.